everybody, welcome back. Tonight I am sewing the belly band pattern for concealed carry. It is made by American Stitchers. This is what the cover pictures look like on the belly band. Just a brief warning, this is a garment designed for concealed carrying of a weapon, and if you decide to make one or sell them, just be sure to follow all your state and local guidelines in reference to carrying a weapon. Make sure you are licensed for concealed carry. With that out of the way, I'm going to show you my pattern pieces, what I have. I'm using quilting cotton. I have a hair. Quilting cotton that is interfaced. So I have 2 tabs that are interfaced with Woven Fuse 2, gotten from gotinterfacing.com, and then 2 tabs with Woven Fuse 2 and also with a fusible fleece. I think this is the one that says heavyweight fusible fleece. It might be number 973. I'm trying to look at my bolt over there. So we'll need all 4 of those. We have 2 pocket pieces that are cotton fused with Woven Fuse 2. We have 2 back or body panel pieces that are cotton fused with Woven Fuse, and one of them is also fused with the fusible fleece. Then, to make it adjustable, we have 4-inch wide elastic, one for each end. It's pretty stretchy. And then to close it, Velcro. And the Velcro, you're supposed to have it in one piece. My stiff side is only 2 inches wide, so I cut 3 to match the length, and that'll work just fine. I'll show you where to use that later. Before we start, I want to put my label on the front pocket, and I don't really have a measurement for where I like it, but I think I like this pocket panel better for the front. I'm going to put it, I got to consider that I'm going to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance up here, so I'm going to move it down just a little bit and put it right in this area. These are cork label by Tops and Bottoms. If you're looking to get a label like these made, I'll show you the label in just 1 second. They do an awesome job. And I'm sewing tonight on Bernina Artista 630 model. She's from the 90s. Very good machine. Still computerized, but very, very good, solid machine. Got that label in place now. Yeah, you can see my label, and it is cork, so it's still flexible. Okay, the first step in making these after you've got everything all cut out, and this is the slim version, I should have told you that as well, so the pocket depth is not quite as deep on it. It's going to be for more of your like shield and bodyguard size of guns, and this size that I'm making tonight is the extra large. It's the largest body size, but it's the shorter depth. And we're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance on everything tonight. So, guess I should tell you what I'm doing. I took my 2 pocket panels, right sides together. I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam across the flat edge on the top, and then we'll flip those open and top stitch them. You can pin these or clip them if you need to. Snip your threads. Now I'm going to lay this on my table. I do this sometimes when it's with the woven fuse too. It'll give you a nice crisp line. So if I can, I choose not to run to the iron to press things. So I just press it on the table, press the seam allowance down, fold it over, and just work it a little bit with my fingers. Maybe this is lazy of me, but I have good results with it. Got to get it flat, and now we can top stitch. This is our pocket area, and we're just going to top stitch along the flat part that we just sewed. I like to go about an 1/8 inch from the top, and I lengthen my stitch to 3.5. Trim up. Now we have our top stitched pocket panel. The next step is to take your piece for the back. Let me double check which piece we're using. Okay. Your piece for the main panel that does not have the fleece. Lay it right side up, and take your pocket panel and lay right side up on top of it and match up your bottom edges. Again, you can clip these if you want to, but we're just going to baste this in place. The pattern recommends it like a 3/8 of an inch. I usually do my basting at about 1/4 of an inch. And I just turn my stitch length all the way up. I honestly don't know if my machine has a basting stitch. I've never gone and looked. Just keep it nice and flat the whole way through. Keep your bottoms matched up. Pattern for this is available on Etsy in the American Stitchers shop. I guess I should have basted these edges too, just to keep them flat. after this step, you'll be able to see what we have coming together here. It's a super quick project after you get them cut out. I made the mistake and I'm working on 11 of them right now. So that's not super quick of getting them all cut out. But now you can see what it looks like. And then if you can envision, it'll have elastic out each end with those tabs on the end to secure around your waist. So we're going to take this panel that we have made and we're going to take the remaining main panel with the fleece on the back, right sides together, and we're going to sew the bottom edge and the top edge and leave these short ends open. And we're going to do this at just under a 1/2 inch. I am going to clip these this time, just to keep them from shifting since we need to sew the top and the bottom. And we're going to do just under 1/2 inch, maybe even do 3/8 of an inch. And this ensures that your ends stay open wide enough for your 4-inch wide elastic to slip in the ends when you're done. So I'm going to clip these together just to make sure it doesn't shift around. I do prefer to use clips than pins. So usually make bags, and when you work with vinyl or leather, you'll find that you don't use pins. So I got used to using the clips for pretty much everything. Okay, so we're gonna go between 3/8 and 1/2 inch and put my stitch length back to normal. I do like to back stitch at the beginning and end, just for security. That little back stitch will keep it from your stitches coming undone while you're turning it right side out as well. Because we're going to use one of these short ends as a turning hole. Now we're going to do the bottom edge too. Like I said, between 3/8 and 1/2 inch. In my experience, most of these have been bought by women in the shop, but I have made a custom one or two for men, so men do like them as well. We're going to take some notches along the curve so it lays nice and flat after we flip it right side out. Scissors aren't cutting the best tonight. And we'll go over here and make 2 more. Careful not to cut into your seam. And if you want to, you can trim this seam allowance down a little bit too. I'm trimming it right below my basting stitch, just to, I don't know, so it lays flatter. Sorry about that. I didn't even think about the fact that I was cutting it right in front of the camera. Okay, so now we've got all that. We're going to go inside on the ends here and get this flipped right side out. The woven fuse too is a little bit stiffer than if you want to use like SF 101 or the regular woven fuse. So this might take a little bit of doing to get it flipped. You can always see why they call it birthing. There we go. Now it's coming. There we go. Now, we want to take a tool or whatever have you and get in there best you can and get these edges out nice and flat. I like to work mine with my fingers and just press it along as I go. Get it all flipped and nice and neat. Okay, oh, there's a blue string. I'm gonna lay it on my table for a second. Just smush it, get it all nice and flat. There we go. Now we got it. It's kind of big to show you in the screen there. Okay, so now we want to take our tabby ends and we're going to take one with fleece, one without, right sides together. I like to do fleece side up because if you think about it, you're doing a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and that's right about where that line rides, so it gives you a little bit of a visual as you're sewing. I did already have these prepared. I didn't think to point out that the fleece is, like I said, about a 1/2 inch smaller all around than the woven cotton areas, and you want to center those when you press them in place. You can just go slow and get around that curved edge. You can put some notches on it as well. I'm going to cheat and just do it this way instead of the triangles this time. This way works for me as well. I've never had a problem with it. And then turn this right side out. It's raining here tonight, and we are supposed to get some freezing rain, sleet, ice accumulation, so excuse me. I do live in Pennsylvania, so it's the day after Valentine's Day, and it's winter, so I guess I really can't complain if we're going to get a ice storm. Rather than ice, it would just be snow, but we don't always get what we want. We'll try to get this all out. My poker isn't always long enough to reach in there and get my seam out the whole way. There we go. These will get top stitched as well. So this is one tab, and we're going to go ahead and make that second one. Fuzzies. Okay, again, we're going to go right sides together, line them up, fleece side up, and sew at a 1/2 inch. Seam allowance, back stitch, and one thing I like to do when I'm sewing in the sewing a round area, I don't know how well you can see my machine, but my throat plate has the seam allowances marked on it, so I just try to keep the edge of the fabric at the 1/2 inch, and I'll keep like one hand on the top and the other one to kind of guide it, but just keep that edge of that fabric right at your 1/2 inch seam allowance mark, and it just will kind of glide around there with you if you hold on to it. And there we're back to the straight. It's not always perfectly round, and it won't be detrimental if it's not, but you can see it's pretty accurate. Again, we're going to clip this. Turn it right side out. Try to keep this one a little more bunched up so I can reach into the bottom better. There we go. Straighten it up. I'm going to kick my heat press on. I do want to give these a little press because they came out pretty wrinkly. Move you back a little bit. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to heat up, I'm going to work on getting the elastic into the ends of here. We're going to go the body of the panel, the elastic, and then a tab on the end of the elastic. And we'll do that on both ends of this part. So we want to take this, we want to fold it under about 1/2 inch. And if you have cut your fleece and got it in there correctly, it will be about the amount of fleece that's missing here. So it gives you a little bit of a mark to shoot for when you turn it under. I'm going to clip the ends so they stay in. So it does become kind of fiddly to work with all of it at one time. And then, I almost missed a step here. We've got to make some marks on our elastic. We'll do them both at one time. I'm going to use chalk because I can see it on my elastic. And I want to, from one end of it, we're going to mark 1 inch. From the other end, we're going to mark 1/2 inch. So I'm using this little measuring gauge. It has like every measurement you can think of. And I'm going to go 1 inch from this end, make a mark, 1/2 inch from this end and make a mark. And you'll see why in a minute. That's 1 inch. And this is going to be 1/2 inch. Do it again on this one. Go 1/2 inch. And 1 inch. Okay. You can see I've got a 1 inch mark, 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to turn in the ends on this end as well. That way we can just keep working. I'd like to take my fingers on the seams and kind of press toward the middle. And if you do it like that, it just kind of folds itself in neatly. Then you can put some clips, hold it in place, make sure you've got the pocket and the main panel together. Because that pocket is a little sneaky little bugger, and it will come out of place when you least expect it. And now we've got these all clipped on both ends, and we're going to take the elastic with the end that we marked at the 1 inch point and insert it into the end, the belly band, to that point. This is a 4 inch elastic, and as long as we didn't follow all the seam allowances, we should be able to slide this right in there. I'm sliding it into the 1 inch mark, and then I'm going to sew it. Well, I have to take these clips out of the bottom. I'm going to sew over it on the end. This can be a little bit bulky. Take your time, go slow, whatever you need to do. Because you are sewing through fleece and up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 layers of cotton in there, plus the elastic. So, take your time. I'm going to use a normal stitch size. And there we've got the edge of the elastics catching. I'm just going to move my needle just slightly so it goes ahead and sews. coming up on the lip of the pocket. I'm just going to lift my presser foot and slide this hump, what I call it a hump jumper. I've seen some different names for it, under the edge of my presser foot, just so that it doesn't catch on the edge of that pocket. There we go. And this is to be expected. You know, the Bernina, even though it's tough, it is a domestic machine. So it does have its struggles with some very thick spots. Now, the pattern says to sew twice on the end here. I usually just do mine as a little box. So I'll take like one, or if it sews, 2 stitches, lower my needle, spin it around, and just go back up. And that way it's more like a little box than just two rows of stitching. Make sure you keep that pocket held flat. Flat. I broke my needle. All right. So, it's hanging under here. The big debate. I'm filming a video and I broke my needle. Do I let it play or stop it while I change the needle? Hopefully that's all of it. It looked like it was stuck there. It's pretty good, so. Guess it was time to change it anyway, probably. These are 8012 Microtex needles, and the reason that my machine was having struggles there was probably that I haven't changed my needle in a while, and I don't pay attention to it until that sort of thing happens. Okay. There we go. So let's see if we can finish this now. I'm going to go right back to where I was and start a few stitches backwards of where I was. And keep going. Sounds better already. Okay. Make sure I didn't have any messy stitches here from that needle. Okay, so this is what it looks like now, with that little box sewn on the end there. It's nice and strong. We're going to do the same thing on this end. Again, into the 1-inch mark on the elastic. Stuff it in there. This side will go a little bit smoother than the other because of the direction the pocket lays. So on that one we had to sew over the pocket this way. This one we're sewing over it this way first. When we come back we'll sew the other, but it just seems to go a little smoother this direction. These clips out of the way. Needle down, go over 1, 2, needle down. I like to just fold it like this so it fits in the throat there. No need for the hump jumper this time since my needle's actually sharp. And finish it off right here with a back stitch. Trim up my threads. This side, of course, looks a lot prettier than the other side, I'm sure. Make sure that you caught all your ends in there. If you didn't, you can always, because I missed this one, you can always add one more row of stitching. Just for security. Or you could rip it, seam ripper it. I don't like to seam ripper on elastic though, so I'm going to do one more row of stitching. Alright, so I decided to seam ripper that. It wasn't looking pretty. So I've got one row of stitching. I've got my flap tucked in the back here that missed. And I'm going to resew the second row of stitches. There is no shame in making mistakes and having to use the seam ripper. I just didn't want you to have to suffer through watching me rip seams out, possibly saying some bad words, you know, because I don't always get along with my seam ripper. Hopefully we caught that edge this time. There we go. Now we got it. So it's sewed twice. This end sewed twice. I pick up lots of lint sewing with black. I should be used to it by now. And while I had the pause on, I also took these over to the heat press, pressed them real quick. We are going to do the same, fold these in a 1/2 inch. We want to put them on to the elastic in such a way that the fleece will be against your body. So if you can envision wrapping this around your body, you want the fleece side to be against you. So if I have it this way, the fleece is this way, so we're going to have it against my body this way. And then we're going to sew it on in the same manner that we sewed the elastic on there. We need to get the elastic inside. Oh my goodness, it's late. It must be getting late because my fingers aren't working that great. I do apologize. So fleece against me means it goes to the back, and we get the elastic inside. This time we're going for that 1/2 inch mark that I made, which is right there. I like to use chalk because not only can I see it on my black fabric, but if I need to, you can wipe it back off. Make sure all your edges are good and tucked under so you don't have a issue I just had with the others. And we're going to do another little box on the end of here. Well, make sure it's all laid down nice and flat. Towards me, 1, 2, drop the needle. I like to trim these threads out of the way, just so they don't get caught up in my next set of stitches. And we're going to sew down here. Back over. And we've got our little box. And we're going to do the same on this end. Again, we want the fleece towards us, so that means towards the back of the pattern. And we're going to go to that 1/2 inch mark on our fleece. Comes my buddy. What you doing? What? He's probably ready for fun. I'm going to get this elastic shoved in here. Do a 1/2 inch mark. Pull off those clips. And sew it again. It felt a little uneven, so I just made a little adjustment there. Wow. needles in one night. That must be like a record. Here we go. Drop the one piece on the floor. Maybe I should have went with the heavy duty pack of needles. All right. So, what do we got left to do? We've got to put the Velcro on, and we've also got to do our top stitchings. So, get some fuzz in the stitching there. Let's top stitch these tabs. Hopefully we won't break another needle. We're going to lengthen it out to 3.5 again. Staying about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Throw it up over my shoulder. Okay, we did it. Oh my goodness. Kind of a good thing that these are more utilitarian than they are beautiful, I guess, because they're a little bit forgiving when you make small mistakes, but starting to feel like this video should be on the blooper reels. I did have a little brief break from sewing for a week or two, and maybe this is like my punishment for that. We also want to top stitch along the top of here now, and then I like to top stitch the bottom too. It keeps it nice and flat. If you wanted to, you could just go down one of your stitch lines there, connect to the bottom, and keep going. It's all up to you what you want to do. No one says you have to do it a certain way. Now we've got all of our top stitching done. We need to do the elastic, and we're going to want to put whichever side of the elastic, or I keep saying elastic, Velcro, whichever side of the Velcro is going to be facing towards you. I want like it to be the soft one, just in case you don't overlap far enough, or you overlap too far, overlap crooked. You get this against your skin, you don't want that rough side against you. So whichever side you think is going to be the one overlapping, I'm going for a right over left. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong to that. And I'm going to center it on my tab and stitch around it. Use a little bit of a longer stitch just because the Velcro catches up in your needle a little bit. I'm doing it about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the Velcro. You could zigzag, you can do whatever you want to do to seal this Velcro on there. That is definitely ice hitting my skylights, in case you can hear that. And I'm going to make a V shape here. Now, how am I going to do this? I want to make a box so that it just has a little bit more security in the center right here. When you're tearing it off, putting it back on, I just want it to have some security. So I'm going to make an X box here. No right or wrong to it. I don't think it calls for it in the pattern. I just like it for the extra security of it. You can see the X that I made. There's my Velcro. And then we just want to ensure that we're overlapping. So we have the hard side of the Velcro on this side. Now, because I have mine in 3 pieces, it'll be a little different to sew than what most of yours will be. But I'm going to, how am I going to do this? I'm going to go down the first one. And then I'm going to go up to the corner of this one. Stop just brief shy of the corner so I can overlap here. Well, the Velcro I'm using has little flat edges, so I can overlap them. That way I can sew both edges at one time. And then go down that flat seam. Back up there diagonally and do this again. With this one I cut rounded. I just want to make sure they're very secure. Like I said, for somebody taking it off, putting it on, I want to make sure that they're not going to come undone. So I want to, what do I want to do now? So around this round end, dusty table. And I'm going to continue to sew straight. Now I can go back my other side of my X. Sew straight across the bottom of this one. It's like one of those games where you're trying to draw X's without crossing over any of the lines, but you know you've got to cross the line somewhere. This is the one I'm going to have to cross the line. And final one. It looks like this. The inside looks like this. I could have probably put a little bit of an X in that one too, but it didn't really need it. Alright, so thank God I have a lint brush. It goes like this, seals shut. Now we have a belly band. So the last step is to sew the pockets onto here that hold your gun. And we are going to do 6.5 from the right side is the recommended measurement. And on a Bernina, it has these little measurements on the edge of the table. And it just happens to go to 6.5. And it's this, oh, you can't see it. There's like a groove there. So I know that I'm going 6.5 if I take the edge of the pocket to the edge of the table. Back stitch a few times at the top, especially. Just, I feel like somebody putting their gun in and out of there, you know, they could be in a hurry, they could be moving around a lot, and you just want it to be held in place. So there's your one pocket. That should hold pretty much any smaller size weapon. Going to go about, let's do 4.5 on this side. Well, that's going to hit my label, so let's go 5. Yeah, let's go 5 inches. And just, you can measure out pockets anywhere you want them to be. You're making it for yourself, you know, you might want to carry, some people like to carry pepper spray or an extra magazine or cartridge, whichever you prefer to call it. You might want to slot where your phone fits. I'm going to make one about 3 inches here. Seems to be a good size for magazines. So, and then that'll leave this one open. Probably a cell phone would fit in there. Yes, I did just hit myself in the face with it. So here we have it. It's all finished. We have our big pocket for the gun. We have probably a cell phone pocket here, a pocket for a magazine or a cartridge, whatever you want over here. And then a good strong Velcro backing to secure it. There you have it. Concealed Carry Belly Band by American Stitchers, sewn by me. So if you liked my video, please click like below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you later. Thank you.